with the Fun Gallery and getting to meet Fab Five Freddy or him stalking you as his favorite actor,
He'll love that.
how did with Wild Style then, since Charlie obviously is writer director, how did the three of you guys kind of coalesce?
Well, this is interesting about Charlie is I've known Charlie and his brother John since we were all about 13, because my father again came from upstate New York, and so does Charlie's family, and they lived in the same town. And we started going for summer vacations at this lake outside of Binghamton, New York. And the Ahearns happened to have a cottage right next door to us. So Charlie and I were like beating each other with canoe paddles out in the lake annual races long before we were cruising the South Bronx. So I knew him. And by this time, by the time Wild Style came along, things were booming. We had moved the second Fun Gallery, things were really heating up, although it still was a pretty, still unknown scene, but it was downtown, it was getting really hot. So I hear that Fred and Charlie are planning to make this movie with a part for a female reporter. And I said, well, that's my part. Fred, don't you already call me Lois Lane? However, they wanted Debbie for the part, Debbie Harry Blondie, but she couldn't do it. And so then, of course, all of a sudden, because Charlie says, oh, no, we want someone really mousy for the part. And I said, oh, no, you don't. And so then I got the part. And I have to say that I heard Charlie in an interview say that Debbie said, I did a better job than she would, because I'm more of a comedian. But so that's how the whole thing worked out. And that was, the thing that's great about Wild Style is that it's all right there. I took the train up to the South Bronx to shoot that movie. And pretty much, if it's 2 a.m. at the Dixie, it's 2 a.m. outside, and Charlie recruited, a lot of people from on the spot. But also, then there's the creme de la creme of the pioneers of hip hop in that movie.
So prior to working on it, with your exposure and knowing Fab Five or getting to know them at that point, what were you more drawn to graffiti? Were you more drawn to rapping? Were you not interested in it? Like, I know the intersections are significant, but what was your interest in hip hop at this point?
Oh, I love the whole thing. I think that the thing that really brought the downtown and uptown scenes together, where we were both totally disenfranchised from society, which was fine with us because we had no interest in society. We were both lived in horrible, bombed out neighborhoods. Everything that we did was very low budget, and you would just, make do with what you had. And so that was, I think, the kind of that, common struggle was what brought, hip hop and punk rock together. I met Rocksteady Crew and they were 14 at Lee's birthday party. I loved Rocksteady Crew and all the dancing because I have a dance background. And I love the whole freedom of graffiti, because it was, again, if you're outside society, then you don't have to play by the rules. And so all this stuffy, go to art school and then be really boring and talk about your art, forget it. And the graffiti guys didn't do that. They just went out to bomb.
Right. Plus, the interesting thing too about your character Virginia was the relationship of being part of the media, and on the one hand, Fab Five's character understands and appreciates how that could help, but most everybody else has a negative view of it. So for you as a person outside of Virginia, what what were you thinking of the media at the time, and were they going to embrace the Fun Gallery? Were they going to embrace, Keith and Fab Five and Lee and all these artists that you
You know
were?
what? Frankly, we didn't really care. And that's the key. Things, so much was happening. So much was going on. We were like creating, we were too busy creating, being in the moment to really care if anybody else got it. If you got it, then cool, come on down.
Well, I think that's an important point, because I think now, or as time has gone on with rap especially, so much of it is made from a strategic business standpoint as opposed to a creative endeavor. Or I think one of the main things that's evolved that we lost in the 1990s with rap in particular was the trying to be the best, as opposed to earlier, regardless of your style, if you were Busy Bee, you wanted to be the best party rocker. If you were Kumo D, you wanted to be the best lyricist. If you were, fill in the blank with a DJ or a graffiti artist.
Right.
So for you, what freedom and what liberation do you think that has? And as you saw it going away, what impact did you see it have on art, on music, on dance?
Well, I think, the second part of the question is kind of, like the soul is taken out of it. If your goal is, that you want to get your name in the paper and make money, you're in the wrong business. Please do me a favor. Don't become an artist. Okay. And the, what was the first part of the question? I forgot. It was
the freedom aspect of it.
Oh, yeah. I think that was what was so, I think that was what was very liberating, is that we were able to create our own, venues, our own environments. And I've had one of the most gratifying things about the Fun Gallery is that I have many, many people who came up out, who were there. They were young, a lot of the young kids said to me, said, Patti, thank you, because for the first time I saw that I could have a future, that I could be somebody. And it was great to have the guy, because people hung at the Fun Gallery like every day. All the big stars of, graffiti would be there, Fab, Keith, Jean-Michel, Dondi, Futura, Zephyr. They were all hanging there like every day. Crash and Days. And I mean, Crash and Days were very young, and they started at Fashion Moda. But it was really great to see, to have these young kids, the Black Book kids, they were as young as 8, would take the train, for an hour and a half to get to the Fun Gallery, because they heard they could see their heroes there, and they had heroes.
Yeah,
and to see somebody like Crash, who was always very businesslike about himself, and carried himself well. He was 18, but he took care of business, and that's what I think that. When these kids say, you changed my life, or you saved my life, a lot of times, because they saw that there was something for them.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. That's huge. Also, what was, since, people like different things of art and, subjectively all this stuff, what was kind of your policy for what made it in the Fun Gallery, or how did that work?
Yeah. Well, that was another thing. Well, first of all, the first gallery was so small. It was 8 feet by 25. I can tell you that because I told Bill I had to have wall-to-wall carpeting. So we measured it, and it was only 8 by 25. So that wasn't so bad. It was so small that we really couldn't consider having group shows. And I never liked group shows that much anyway. And so it was just the artists that we knew. And we never showed people as graffiti artists. And that's another thing that we achieved. We were the first person to give graffiti artists one-man shows as individuals, instead of just like, it's graffiti art, which a lot of the big dealers would do. You know, they'd have these big group shows, see what they could sell, see what they did, and just dump everybody after the show. So we didn't differentiate just the people that, you know, we knew. The only criteria that we had to be their best, and they had to be the best.
Okay. Well, that's a good starting point. Okay. And then as far as Wild Style 2, one of my favorite scenes that involved you is when the car broke down and then all the kids came and were pushing you, or pushing the car, I should say. So one of the great things about Wild Style, I also think, is the camaraderie and the community and the unity that the film shows, despite some of the inherent trauma in it. For you, what was the significance of showing that on screen?
Well, I think, you know, what I like about Virginia's character is she's just forges ahead, you know, and I was kind of brought up that same way. You know, if you are nice to people, they will be nice to you. So you just take everyone at their value, you know, and so, you know, even with the stick up and everything at the beginning, I start to try to be polite to the guy. You know, and then but that scene with little Marky C, R.I.P. It's just, you know, it's so there, and a lot of those the scripts were set up, but then that's what's so great about film is that, you know, once everyone gets together and does it, because we had no rehearsal. I mean, again, the one take wonder. And just that scene just was created really by the kids themselves. You know, that was their whole thing. And then we are all graffiti artists. No, it's a great scene.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorites in the film. And then for you at this time, and even as we continue, how were you, given your acting background, but then how did you kind of navigate personally, professionally, from acting to gallery to music to the different things that you were doing? How did you know where to pull or push and where to kind of take a step back?
Well, when we realized that we had a gallery, I said, well, you know, if we're in this game, let's win it. So this was one of the things that we did, is when we still had the tiny gallery, I took out ads in Art Forum magazine. It freaked the dealer, the big, you know, because there was all those big time dealers, and Mary Boone and Julian Schnabel and Tony Shafrazi and all these guys, you know, all these people were just, you know, just got the Farmer John's pig factory going on down there. And, you know, it was all about this like blah, blah, bombastic, you know, I'm a big rich white person who went to art school, so my paintings are really great. And I just, you know, you gotta beat them at their own game. So I decided that we would take out, they were $500, ads in Art Forum. So like that Leo Castelli, and then there'd be Fun Gallery. I put Zephyr for Zephyr's ad. He's like, no shirt on. He's got the tattoo and a big, Zephyr was one of the first people to wear industrial masks. Thank God. And he has the industrial mask like hanging down from his face. Fun Gallery. Oh yeah.
And then did it work? Like, what was the response?
Oh, it worked. We never really sold that much because it was still pretty scary. I mean, that Jean-Michel Basquiat show that we had, I mean, I was begging people, you know, to buy those paintings for $3,000. And now, of course, a lot of the big collectors who discovered Jean-Michel were down there and they wouldn't do it. You know, they wouldn't buy. One of the reasons is they thought they could get them from John even cheaper from his studio after the show, but that didn't work either because he put that entire collection of paintings away in storage for almost 10 years.
Be sure to check out the history of gangster rap by Soren Baker. He's official. History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on your TV back with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.